Welcome to Elevating La Cultura podcast, a space where I talk with Latinas who are passionate about what they do and are willing to share that passion with others to change the narrative, especially for the next generation. Each season is centered around different topics, but all with a Latina perspective. Welcome to Season 7. I'm so excited to share these stories and hope they will offer encouragement, wisdom, and be something that you can relate to. So vámonos, and let's get into it. Hola! Today's guest is filled with such joy and inspiration, and you'll be able to tell how she pours all of that into her business. Maia created the brand For Tomorrow to celebrate her family, elevate the perception of her Caribbean roots in the world, and to bring clean beauty to the broader BIPOC community. She grew up spending weekends with her tías learning to paint nails, make face masks, and even pluck a few eyebrows. These moments at her grandmother's house are some of her favorite childhood memories. After a major health scare and difficult time learning about clean beauty products, she decided to bridge her background as a mental health clinician with her broader learnings about clean beauty to share what she had learned with her community and create an environment that inspires ease, restoration, and self-indulgence. For Tomorrow is a New York-based lifestyle house rooted in the idea that color can improve your well-being. Through founder Maia's passion for interior design and career background in mental health, the collections are grounded in color psychology and interwoven with influences from design, art, photography, and modern culture. For Tomorrow offers a high-performance, meticulous curation of non-toxic, vegan, Leaping Bunny certified nail polishes and treatments, equipped with a custom paintbrush for the easiest at-home manicure. Powered by color psychology and rooted in well-being, the nail care products create a self-care beauty ritual with real positive effects on your overall mood. Maia is a mom of twin girls, has a master's degree from Columbia University and a BA from Vassar College. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Hi, I'm excited for today's guest. We have not met each other except for virtually and through a group chat. Shout out to Ashley from a previous episode, and she has been just great at connecting people. So I'm just so thankful for her and her willingness to continue to elevate other women and connect us. And I'm excited to chat with you. I'm excited for you to share your story. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Maia. I'm the founder of For Tomorrow, and we are a nail care and wellness brand that believes in the power of color. So all of our nail polishes are rooted in a specific emotion and rooted in color psychology. And my background is in mental health. I was a mental health clinician for about 10 years here in New York. I wanted, when I was, trying to build this idea in my brain, I knew that the foundation needed to be something about wellness and in mental health, because that's just what I love and what I want to promote and who I am, my career.
I love hearing and learning about how sometimes our paths, even though we are headed in one direction, it just branches out into something more creative, and we find a way to incorporate everything, all of our passions. So why don't you share your story, what brought you to study what you studied and then launch a brand in nail care?
Yeah, I think that, my journey has definitely not been linear. And I always tell people, guys, it's okay to pivot. I've pivoted so many times in my life just because I feel like what I do in my career really needs to be a reflection of who I am. So I have always been a person that has been into wellness, into well-being, into helping people and things like that. So I went to school for social work, and I was a social worker in New York for adolescents for about 10 years. And I was really, really burnt out. I was really young. Looking back now, I can see why I was burnt out. I didn't have, as much as I'm into wellness and well-being, I didn't really take care of myself, right? I was really about taking care of other people. And that took a toll on me. It was a intense type of work that I did. But the highlight of my time there was this art therapy program that we did. So that really stuck with me. And I was always looking for a creative outlet. And I had like these blogs that were like about fashion and creativity and design. So I transitioned to like a nonprofit because I was like, I think I just want some time to kind of figure out where I want my career to go. So I transitioned to this nonprofit and I was doing, so my specialty is in HIV treatment. So I transitioned to this nonprofit that was HIV prevention. Um, so it was a little bit different. I really enjoyed it. I learned everything about social media and building a, an online presence. This was like in the beginning of like Instagram is so cool and new. So that was really fun. And then they lost all their funding. So I was out of a job. Um, and I had this mentor there who also was out of a job. And she was just like, if you want to go do something creative, like now is your time. So at that same time, I had built this blog, this interior design blog. And I was like, I kind of want to explore like my love of interior design. And I used that as my resume to get a job in interior design. So I did that for, I don't even know how many years. I did that for a couple of years, and transitioned into doing marketing for interior designers, and basically created a career for myself in social media, which is like super different than social work, but still social is in the word there. So maybe there's something there. And then I got pregnant. And everything changed. It was a really high risk pregnancy, and I um, I learned everything about clean beauty. So it was a really intense time. I was really scared. I was like doing all this research, learning all about these ingredients that, I don't have a science background. So it was overwhelming, you know. And I was kind of like, I want to share this with people. Like, it doesn't need to be this hard. Like, I don't think that it needs to be this hard. Um, and I was kind of like sitting with this idea of like, how do I share this with people? Like, how do I bring something beautiful that's also creative, but that I can also like infuse with this conversation of like wellness, well-being, clean beauty, taking better care of yourself, which is also like has been my personal journey, right? Because that's why I had to leave social work. Like I was just like incredibly burnt out. I mean, to the point of like physical illness, it was something that like I couldn't ignore anymore. And I don't know that it really needs to take, that your journey needs to take you to that point to make a change. And in that, in kind of like building around this time, I realized that like it's really hard for humans to change. It's like against our nature. But if you make it fun, if you make it joyful, if you make it colorful, if you make it just like full of good times and literal joy, like people are more willing to listen to what you have to say. So I kind of use that as the foundation of the brand. Yeah. So that was, my real roundabout way of like getting to to where I'm at.
It's so interesting how, especially as Latinas, like I've seen this as a pattern, and like we talk about it almost every episode, that we are so good at giving advice and we're so good at helping other people. But when it comes to ourselves, it's really hard for us to listen to what we need because we are just so selflessly giving for other people. And we can be telling people the same advice that we need to hear, like you need to rest, you need to drink water, you need to like get up and move, but we ourselves don't listen to ourselves. And
Yeah, I totally agree.
it's a pattern that I hope that as we learn and as we grow, we can change that and shift that for ourselves and for the next generation. So what like big lessons did you learn in that transition for yourself, and like what practices did you then put in place for your own life?
Oh, those are such good questions. So I learned that I am deserving of all good things, right? And this is like a personal spiritual kind of like journey. I feel like I honestly went through this like spiritual awakening, like after I had kids, because my life was so drastically different and it was such an intense period for me personally. And dealing with, like postpartum depression and things like that. Like it was just almost like how the saying of like something inside of me broke open, right? Because it's like the breaking, but then you're like open again. So yeah, I learned that I was worthy of all good things and worthy of pursuing what I want to pursue. Like, I didn't mention this earlier, but I've always wanted to have a business. So I think that's part of why I was even open to kind of pivoting and things like that, because I've always had in the back of my mind, like, I want to turn this blog into a business. I want to turn this blog into a store. I want to, do all these other things. So at that time in my life, I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. Like, what? There's really no reason to wait. There's no reason not to try. It's okay to fail, quote unquote. It's okay for the end result to look super different than what you thought, because most of us, I think, start out with this idea and then things change to maybe something even better than what you ever thought was possible, right? So yeah, I think that was part of it, just kind of like changing my framework, but then also like really, and this, I mean, it's so hard after you have kids, but like really carving out that time for yourself is something that I still have to have in the front of my mind. Like I have to actively push for it, because everything else feels so much more important, you know? So even if it's taking a moment to paint your nails, taking a moment to choose a color that feels good, or, you know, anything that's for you, I think is super important. And as long as there's intentionality behind it, it's powerful. Like, I'm choosing this color because I love yellow. You know what I mean? I love to wear yellow. So every time I wear it, every time I look down at my hands, our hands that do so much, that we use for literally everything all day long, I feel good. So it's one of like little things that I do.
So, something that you said really stuck with me, how now that you have a small business or now that you're an entrepreneur, like you have to be intentional about taking that time. And it's interesting because entrepreneurship brings this freedom because you get to choose what you want to pursue. You get to be happy in what you're creating. But at the same time, you don't have that 9 to 5 to say, like, okay, I'm clocking in and then I'm clocking out. Like, entrepreneurship is like, can take over your whole day because, especially if you're starting out and you're a solopreneur, you are doing the marketing, you're doing the branding, you're doing the actual creative work in whatever you're producing, you are doing the accounting, like you are all of these things, and that takes a lot of time. And so I think that's one thing that as an entrepreneur, I really struggled with, like finding the time to pour into myself, even if it's just for 10 minutes a day. And it's something that I've been working with my therapist recently, but it is so important because we come from this like work mentality, especially if we are coming from the corporate world where that is like what you're supposed to be doing, like based on what everyone is telling you, especially as Latinas. Like, we overcompensate because we want to be seen and taken seriously. And it is such a interesting mental shift when you are shifting from corporate to entrepreneurship, because if we bring over that work mentality or that workaholic mentality, like it could create a new type of burnout. And so I think it's amazing that you created a brand that is intentional about helping others with their self-care, even if it is just like for a few moments in the day. I'd love for you to talk about that intentionality a little bit more.
Yeah, I think a lot about just like my purpose in life. I feel like that's, I think I look at some people and I'm like, wow, you really know what your purpose is, and you've known your whole life, and you went to school and you still do that thing that you went to school for. And like I didn't, right? Like my journey has been so different. And I love school, so like I don't regret it. So I like totally enjoyed my time. But um yeah, like so I think about my purpose a lot, and I think about just how I want to bring beauty to people, and how I was telling you that it really takes joy to create change. But I think it also takes beauty. Like beauty is kind of like what makes life worth living, right? That's where the abundance of our life is. That's where we feel like our life is fruitful. And I think everyone deserves that. Like, and I always say like abundance is not just like making a lot of money. Abundance is being able to walk and see gorgeous trees, gorgeous flowers outside, massaging your legs or your feet and feeling like, that you're taking care of your body, like touch, like that kind of like sensory experience is so abundant, is so beautiful. It's like why we're here. So I do try to infuse the brand with that kind of feeling. I think that people don't, especially women of color, like we don't allow ourselves to have that moment. We live our life, I mean, this might be sound a little dramatic, but like it's almost like we live our life for other people, right? Like, and I really try to bring to the front of my mind, like we live our life for ourselves. Like we have to take care of ourselves first before we can take care of anyone else. I cannot be the best mother that I can be to my kids if I'm not well, right? If I'm not healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, like none of it. Like be you have to set that foundation for yourself, and also that example for the next generation, right? Like you want to my mom, honestly didn't set that example for me, so it's been very hard for me to my dad has had 3 jobs my entire life. My mom worked full time. My dad has had 3 separate jobs my entire life. It took me years to even, and then so did I, right? I had multiple jobs for a long time. Like this might be one of the only times in my life that I don't have multiple jobs, and it took me a long time to realize, like, why do I do this to myself? Why am I making myself sick having 3 jobs? Like, 3 was too much for me, but for the most part I had 2 jobs. There was one time that I had 3 jobs and I was like, this is crazy. Why am I doing this to myself? Like, um so just coming back to that, because I think that we don't allow ourselves to be taken care of, or to rest, right? Like that whole conversation that was happening in 2020 about like rest as resistance, and I think as women of color, like that is our resistance, and that can be like our lane of activism, to say absolutely not. I will not make myself sick to do something for you, whether that's your job or someone in your family or your friend group or whatever, right? Like, I'm not going to overwork myself. I'm not going to do something that in the end is detrimental to me, but that will make you feel good. Like, there has to be some sort of boundary setting, right? And I think that setting that time for yourself to rest is setting a boundary, and it's taking care of you and your well-being. And that's like I said, the foundation to everything. So that's really where I want the brand to be like rooted in. And of course, like bringing in beauty and joy and all of that beautiful, creative, artistic visuals, because that's just the fruit of life. It sounds so corny, but like it's like the abundance of life. And we have to find joy in our daily lives, because I mean, life is tough, right? So that's part of being grateful and having a gratitude practice and things like that. Like that all ties into joy and enjoying your life and stuff like that.
Going back to this idea in 2020 when we had to rest because there was nothing else for us to do. Um, and I think this concept of rest as resistance
Mm-hmm.
takes time for us to actually process and apply to our own lives, because a lot of times we hear these things and we're like, oh yeah, that sounds good, but then we keep on going and we're like, okay, And then we hear it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, maybe I should start thinking about this. But we keep on going. And then we hear it again. And we're just like, what? How would that look like in my own life? So I am like, even though I heard about like we need rest and I experienced that at the start of the pandemic, it has taken me until this year and at the end of last year to actually apply that to my own life and to actually sit down and say like, okay, what am I going to do in like 5-10 minute pockets every single day? And it doesn't have to be anything big. It could just be like me sitting down
Yeah.
in a chair and
Mm-hmm.
doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it because we've been conditioned to believe that it's selfish to take some time to ourselves, it is a mindset that we really need to keep talking about so that people can start hearing it as normalized and start actually like putting it into practice in their own lives. So I am so thankful that we are having this conversation.
Yeah.
I'd love to go a little deeper on like your you said at the beginning that your practice like with mental health influenced like the color theory that you then apply to your products. I'm interested to hear like how that has influenced, and yeah, you can talk about the colors in your product.
So, I had so much fun coming up with the colors for the collection, and I did a lot of research on color theory and color combinations, and um, I just kind of I work in these like really creative like spurts. So like I have like a couple let's say I don't know a couple weeks a month or something where I'm just like feeling like this surge of like creative energy. So I use that time to like do this like research, right? Um, and I would go. I mean, I have this collection. It's called the Jardín collection, and I would go to this place in the park by my house with my kids when they were newborns, and I would go there every day just to take a walk because like you need to leave the house, right? So like I would go to this spot, and I remember thinking like, what, this is so beautiful. And I was shocked. Mind you, I've been going to this park my entire life. Like I'm from Washington Heights. I still live in Washington Heights. I've been going to this park since I was a kid. And I was like, what? Like it's like I had never been there before. And I had that moment of just like massive inspiration where I was like, I want to share this with people. Like, this is it. This is the next collection. Like, I'm going to recreate this in the colors. So I did that. I recreated like the bark of the trees and the clouds and the grass and the flowers that were there, the sun, like, and yeah, it brought me so much joy just like putting this together. And then researching, like our yellow and what does yellow mean. And yellow is like all about creativity and bringing in literal sunshine into your life, but it's so much deeper than that. It's also about when you think about color psychology and color like therapy. It's about the use of color to also uplift your mood, which is the point, right? Like for my brand, it's the point for tomorrow is to use this color when you're feeling down, when you're not feeling great, to uplift your mood. And that's what that walk in the park would do for me, because like I mentioned, like the postpartum depression and things like that, like I would go there and I could literally almost physically feel my mood change, and then you come back home and you're like a little better than you were before you left, and that's what matters, or what mattered to me at that time. And I really wanted to share that with people. So like that was one way that I used color therapy, color psychology. But yeah, there's, we have the brown, which is like really grounding, and the blue lavender, which is like the clouds and the sky, which just makes me feel like, I mean, it's like a super intuitive color. Some people say it's like a spiritual color, like just really like connecting with yourself if you feel like you're missing that, like because sometimes we're just so busy, you don't even have time for yourself, right? To like listen to your own thoughts. And I've been there, like, and I've learned that when I'm moving so fast, I don't even have time to think creatively, right? Like problems that we have in our life require pause so that you can come up with a creative solution. There's a solution to everything, but you need to be able to take that moment to come up with that creative solution. We're all creative, right? Whether we're painters or construction workers, like everyone is creative. Um, and it's in our solutions and the way that we talk and the way that we communicate and the way that we think about things, especially the harder things in life, right? So yeah, I think that all of this comes back to the intentionality and taking that moment and also using that moment that you're painting your nails to even to pause and to think about, I mean, you can think about nothing, and that's also nice, right? Like you can be in a meditative state and just kind of like allow your thoughts to come and go as you want. Or you can use that time that, with no screen time to just kind of sit there and be with yourself and allow your thoughts to kind of like come to you. Yeah. I found that for myself. Like, I looked back at some, business decisions that I made last year that I was like, why did I do that? I wasn't thinking creatively. I would do that differently today, And it's like, okay, lesson learned, lesson learned.
Whenever I paint my nails, like I just carry myself a little differently, or like the way I present my hands,
Mhm.
like like I don't know what it is, but like
Feel good. Yeah.
yeah.
Just a
And then yeah, it does something to you
Mhm.
in your brain that you're just like, oh, let me. And then I usually try and do like all of my photos where I'm holding something.
Oh,
I'm just
yeah, yeah,
like, oh
yeah. Of
yeah,
course, because 'cause you're like, "Wait, look at my Manny.
yeah,
Hold up, look at this
exactly.
color." Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, as you have built this brand and this business, I know you said that, like, oh, thinking back, like sometimes you think, oh, I would have done that differently. Is
Mhm.
there any other maybe biases or assimilating ideas that you've had to work through as you transition from uh, your various jobs into entrepreneurship?
Well, I think the first thing that I've had to kind of work through is the idea of pivoting and being okay with pivoting. That was the first thing that, I mean, I was in a career for 10 years. I was at a different level. I was an entry level, right? To then leave that and start at entry level, is tough. There is a salary difference and real world things that you have to manage. So that's one part of just kind of like, I guess, going against the grain or changing your mind, going against what has been infused in us as society, right? As people in society. Um, and I think, as a business owner now, there's so many people offering advice, so many people telling you this is the way to do it, you know. And I always try to remember the foundation of my business and remember the bigger vision of my business. And I have had to also remind myself that not everyone can see that vision in the way that I do. So, um, you know, you the way people want you to assimilate. Yeah, I mean, I hear it all the time. You got to take it with a grain of salt, right? Like people are comfortable with other people that assimilate, and people are comfortable assimilate. I mean, that's why people assimilate, right? Because you want to be part of a group, and that's important, right? Being part of a group and being part of a community. But I am okay with being a little different. I'm okay with like, um, which I think is why I pivoted. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like I was just like, I want to be different. I want to do something different, and I'm gonna go do it. And that's not for everybody because it's not easy. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody because it's not easy. Some people really thrive in a 9 to 5 and do really, really well for themselves and their families and their loved ones in a 9 to 5. And that's beautiful. I think that me and my core, um, I'm not that person. I work, like I told you, in spurts of like this creative energy. And then other times I just have like no creative ideas. And I'm like, I got to take a break. And that's like my signal to like rest and just allow kind of like the creativity to come to me, or the ideas to come to me when they're ready, when I'm ready. But yeah, I mean, assimilating and just following. There's something to be said, right, for following the way that business is done and the way that people run businesses, and focusing on the things that business leaders tell you to focus on. And I think there's also something for communicating with your audience and your community in a way that's more heartfelt, that's thoughtful, that's creative, because it's so different than what you find. And I think that there's something to be said for building your business in that way also. I don't think that anyone is wrong. I think it's always and also, like in quotations, and also, like you can do it like this and you can also do it like that. Like I think that if you're a dedicated person, it's okay to be different. You can be successful, right?
Like hearing you talk has been bringing up some memories of when I started my creative journey because, like you said, there's a lot of people giving their advice and how you should build your business, and you should do it this way or you should do it that way. And I remember when I started, there were the voices that I was listening to were people that didn't necessarily understand my lived experience. So their advice was coming from a different perspective. And I realized that it wasn't working for me the same way that it was working for them. And so I had to do like this realization of, okay, well, I perhaps have been assimilating into these spaces, but they're not really understanding who I am or what I'm trying to do. And so, understanding that I needed to find the community that was going to pour into me mentally because they understood my lived experiences and they were able to hold space for a different type of advice, a different type of encouragement. And I think that can be tricky to find, especially when you're starting out, because you're going and you're just like, this is what I have, and I want everyone to hear about it. And anyone who's giving me advice, I'm going to take it. But then eventually you start realizing the communities or the circles that are actually pouring into you. And so I think that's an important part of entrepreneurship, especially in the creative space, because like when you create, it's like coming out of you, and if the people pouring into you are not encouraging that, then it's just gonna like stifle your creativity, and you're gonna end up creating something that really isn't aligned with who you are, just to fit a specific box.
Right. It's giving our power away, right? When you're sharing your creativity and your art with people, it's like it's so empowering, and terrifying. um, but yeah, it's definitely giving your power away. I think it's also a journey in like trusting ourselves, right? Trusting ourselves in our ability to make the right decision and to listen to our gut and to guide um, ourselves and our business in the way that feels authentic to us. For me, it's not worth doing if it's not authentic to me. It's not worth doing if it's not rooted in that mental well-being piece. It's not worth it to me to just sell a product. Like it's the message really behind what I do that's driving everything for the business. Um, this fall, I did a program with Credo and I met an incredible group of indie beauty founders, women of color. And we've all stayed in touch. We have this group chat that is like super active, like 100 messages plus a day. Like it's awesome. And we're just like sharing resources and encouraging each other. And it's beautiful to be a part of a community like that, where everyone is building something that is deeply meaningful to them.
I love that. I love that you have that community. And that there are more people that are branching out on their own and pursuing their passion. And so, yeah, I love supporting the indie brands because I love their vision, I love their passion, and I'm a sucker for supporting any small business. So
Yeah.
you tell me you're selling something, I'm like, okay, where can I buy? Send me the link.
There are so many cool brands out there with so many like just amazing founders with like these missions that are, deeply powerful, and that really resonate with me as a person, as a consumer. So I loved connecting with them because I'm like, you guys are doing such incredible work, and I find that the indie brands are the ones that really care about the ingredients, that really care about the story of their brand, that really care about their consumers, that really care about their packaging, like sustainability, right? Like sustainable packaging. Aesthetics, of course, but like the sustainability aspect of it all. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the piece that is really more important than anything else. I think we can get up caught up in marketing in corporate America with these big brands,
Hmm.
but I think when there is a product or a brand that really actually cares about the ingredients and what how it affects the consumer,
Hmm.
and not just that, but how it affects everyone on a global level with sustainability,
Yeah,
like that, those are the brands that I think we should be connecting with
I
and
agree. I agree.
supporting.
Hmm.
um, so what are your big goals for the year? Where do you see your business going the rest of the year?
So, our big goals for the rest of the year to really lean into helping our customers create like this at home spa experience. So, we're going to be offering more lifestyle products. The first one is launching in April. Yay! Yeah, and I'll tell you what it is. It is a ceramic body massager that was hand built by the ceramicist in Mexico that I connected with, who is, funny enough, is getting a PhD in psychology. So I really connected with her because she understands the mental health benefits of just using your hands, creating something beautiful, taking care of yourself, and just getting using your creativity to get into like that meditative state. So we designed this body massager. Um, yeah, and it's exciting. That's our first offering in the lifestyle space. So that's kind of the direction we're going to be expanding a lot. So that's the beginning of it all.
That's exciting. So by the time this recording airs, it should already be
Mhm.
launched so
Yeah.
everyone can go check it out.
Mhm.
Um,
Yay.
so if you were giving encouragement or advice to yourself from 10, 15 years ago, like what advice would you give yourself? And then in turn, like, I guess for the next generation as well.
Um, advice that I would give myself 10, 15 years ago, that it's okay to explore. Explore everything that you enjoy. I think that when I was in college, I was really focused on making sure I had a stable career when I graduated instead of exploring the things that really interested me. And I think that that's why I had to pivot because I you know, coming from immigrant parents, art is not something that is uplifted, right, as a career, as a important. Um, and I think that it's really important to experience that freedom in being able to explore whatever it is, fitness, cooking. My brother wanted to be a chef, and and he's a home chef, but like my parents were like, get a more stable career and like look at all these incredible chefs in the world right now. um but so things like that, like we weren't really allowed to explore in that way. And I get it, because I think it's really important for parents to make sure that their kids are stable and take care of themselves, and that was like of the utmost importance to our parents. But I would say explore and have fun and enjoy all the creative, beautiful things that you want to enjoy in life. That it's okay. It doesn't. There's nothing superficial about enjoying beauty, right? Enjoying beautiful things and taking care of yourself and allowing other people to take care of you. Like that one, ding, ding, ding. Like allow other people to take care of you. Yeah, that's a big one for me personally.
I think you mentioned it earlier, but pivoting like was seen as a failure, or when you have to um, think of your other options, or switching careers or switching jobs. Like, I know from a parent's perspective, the generation before us, that could have been seen as a failure. And I think that our generation is proving that it's not a failure. It's just, like you said, exploring a different option, exploring an option that actually brings us happiness and joy, which is success. Like in the end,
That's the real success. Exactly.
like
Exactly.
our parents want us to be happy. Yes, they want us to be stable and secure financially, but like they want to see us thriving and happy as well. And yeah, so I appreciate that advice. I know it has been hard for me trying to like pivot and doing all the things, but um like that's something that I want to change and shift for my kids. I don't want them to feel bad about exploring what actually brings them joy and passion. And it's, I think they're able to see that you can have a career, you can be successful even if you pursue something that makes you happy. Um,
Right. And even outside of career, right? Like, so maybe you do
mhm.
have a, quote unquote, stable 9 to 5
Yeah.
job, but just being able to also explore your hobbies, explore how you spend your free time, explore traveling, right? Explore the world, explore meeting new people, all of it. Like, just like allow yourself to explore. Yeah. Freedom. Be free. Go be free.
Yes, sometimes in entrepreneurship, like saying that you have a 9 to 5 could be looked down upon. But like you said, like sometimes like people might thrive in that environment,
Yeah,
and that
people
is
do. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
and and I know I've talked to a few people through the podcast who are very happy in their 9 to job, and they're happy to have the space to pursue their creative passion on the side.
Exactly.
And I think it's super smart to be able to fill your whole life with things that you
Hmm.
enjoy and will bring you happiness, whether that is a 9 to 5 or entrepreneurship or both.
Or both. Absolutely. I think that we, are living in a time where we could really create the life that we want. We can really create our dream life. So explore, figure out what that means for you.
Yeah. So, where can people find you and connect with you to find your products?
So on our website, it's fortomorrow.co, and that's FORTMRW.co. And it's the same handle on Instagram and TikTok. So that's for tomorrow.
Yes. And I saw on your website that you have collections, and I love that you can buy like
Ooh. The
a
set.
collection.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. What's your most popular one?
Oh, our most popular one is the set that comes with 6 polishes. So it's called For Nail Rituals. That's our most popular one. Yeah.
Awesome.
And it is a ritual.
Yeah, I sometimes wish I could purchase like everything from a website because I want them all. I want
Yeah.
them all. It's like a collection. I remember when I was little, like I would collect pencils and stickers and just have them so nice, and I feel like I do the same with like other products, like especially self-care. I just want them all just so that they can be available for me when
Yeah,
I'm ready to use them.
when you're ready and when you want. And it's nice to have choices, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Nice.
mm-hmm. Well, this has been such a great conversation. I'm so
Yes.
thankful for everything you shared. I'm so thankful for your story. I think it's unique and it's filled with joy. Like I can tell
Mhm.
the joy and passion that you have for what you do. So, I
Thank
hope
you.
yes,
Thank you
I
for
hope that
having me
we
on.
yeah, I hope that we can connect in person someday, but we will definitely keep in touch virtually. And for anyone that's listening, I hope that you feel encouraged um, by Maya's story. I hope that you feel a little bit of like maybe that push, maybe you have that push that you need to just take 5 minutes, 10 minutes for yourself every day so that you can find those pockets of rest and they can you can have those creative juices flowing every single day. So
Absolutely.
thank you so
Love
much for your time. Thank you for everything that you shared, and we will chat soon.
Well, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, bye. After our interview, I was reminded of the need to carve out time for myself to rest. And hopefully, you too are inspired to look for the little things that fill your cup every day. If you haven't joined yet, please join the Elevating La Cultura Comunidad on Facebook, where we can continue the conversations we have on the podcast. Sometimes I go live spontaneously, so if you're wanting another way to connect with me or go deeper on the episodes and talks we have on the podcast, join the Facebook group. Okay, amigos, thank you so much for listening. Feel free to take a screenshot, post on Instagram, and tag at Elevating La Cultura, or send me a DM. You can always comment on this YouTube video if you're watching online. I always like to hear from people and how they resonate with the stories that I share. So leave a review on Apple Podcasts so we can get more ears listening to these stories and we can continue elevating la cultura. All right, enjoy the rest of your day, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening, y nos vemos next week. Bye.